Okay.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the November meeting of the Florence County School District 5 Board of Trustees. If you will, stand with me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Goins, will you give us a little something, sir?
Yes, sir. If you will, let us pray. Father God, we just thank you tonight for your goodness, for your mercy, and for your grace for all of us. And during this time of season tonight, God, we just give thanks to you for the great start of the school year that we've had, for the accomplishments that have been made in Florence School District 5. And God, we give you thanks for the things that we know that are going to continue to happen good here in Florence 5. Tonight, I pray that you will help us work together as we better our district and work together to make our district a place that the students, the staff, the parents, and the community can be proud of. And we give you all the honor and glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. In accordance with the South Carolina Code of Laws 1976, Section 30-40-80E as amended, the following were notified of this meeting: Morning News, Post and Carrier, WBTW, WMBF, WPDE-TV, and posted on our website at fsd5.org. We'll now move to the approval of agenda. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. We'll move to the recognition of re-elected board members and the oath of office.
Okay, at this time I'd like to recognize our re-elected board members, Mr. Andrew Gaster and Mr. Frank Travaglio. And now we'll complete the oath of office for each one. So, Mr. Gaster, if you would come forward. You raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I am duly qualified,
that I am duly qualified,
according to the Constitution of this state,
according to the Constitution of this state,
to exercise the duties of the office
to exercise the duties of the office
to which I've been elected,
which I have been elected,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
and I will to the best of my ability
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve, protect, and defend
and preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of this state and of the United States.
the Constitution of this state and the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Okay. If you were coming around here or going that way.
I'll come around.
Okay.
Excuse me, Jared. Take my left hand.
You repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I am duly qualified,
that I am duly qualified,
according to the Constitution of this state,
according to the Constitution of the state,
to exercise the duties of the office
to exercise the duties of the office
to which I've been elected, to which I've been
to
elected,
which I've been elected,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve, protect, and defend
and preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of this state and of the United States.
the Constitution of this state and the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Take a picture. Gotta take a picture.
Okay. Moving right along, do we have anybody for public forum? Seeing none, we'll move to our consent agenda. Everybody had a chance to review the consent agenda? Do we have any questions or concerns? All right, seeing none, we will move into our regular agenda and we will start with the superintendent's report.
And tonight we'll start with finance.
Okay, we have with us tonight Ms. Brenda Jackson. She's going to be presenting our audit findings to you as a board.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. You have before you your package, your book of your financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 2024. I want to take this opportunity again to thank the board for allowing us to serve as your auditors once again. I also want to thank Ms. Willis and Ms. Alana and all the staff for their hard work. Once again, it was a pleasure to work with everyone and to work on your books and records, because it is a pleasure to have books that are in such good shape to deal with, because that's not always the case in our profession. I'll keep the presentation brief, but stop me at any time if you have questions, and if there's something you want to get into more detail, I'll be happy to expand on anything. Let's start on page 3. This is your independent auditor's report. You'll notice there in your first section there are the opinions, and the second paragraph there is basically what you're paying for us to give is our opinion on these financial statements. And once again, you did receive the top opinion that you can receive, what we call an unmodified opinion, which is basically when we're saying that your financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects for the year ended June 30th, 2024. So like I said, that is the top opinion that you can receive, which is the opinion you've received for as long as I've been working with your district. Now let's take a look at some of the numbers, and we'll flip to page 13. This is your statement of net position. This basically is all of the funds and accounts of the district all combined together. This statement is on the accrual basis of accounting, which is more of a long-term basis. It's the basis of financial accounting that you would see if you're looking at a business financial statement, because it includes all of the long-term debt, it includes your fixed assets, it includes accumulated depreciation. And we'll see another set of statements that doesn't have those long-term types of assets and liabilities, which we'll talk about that in just a minute. Your first line item there, your cash and cash equivalents, was at $809,000. That is down from the prior year. Investments were at 1.2 million. That's basically your funds that were with the South Carolina Local Government Investment Pool. Now I say it's down, but the reason it's down is I think it's just a timing issue, because your receivables were up, monies that were due from the state. You had a large claim that was due for your Easter funds, and you had some money that was due from the treasurer for your bond claim. So I think it was just a matter of timing as when monies came in. So nothing to be alarmed at when I say that cash is down, because you had a good year, so that's not why your cash was down. Your total assets were at 23.5 million. Of that, 10.1 million were your fixed assets. When I say that, that's your land, buildings, equipment, all net of depreciation. So that's that long-term portion. So when I say 23.5 of assets, that's not all assets that you can readily use to pay bills. That includes those long-term assets too. The middle section, there's your liabilities. And you'll see that where it says total liabilities, we're at 37.5 million. Now of that 37.5 million, as we talked of in the past, 35.7 of that is long-term debt. Now of that long-term debt, I know you're thinking, well, we didn't borrow that much money, but 16.7 of that is that share of the pension liability, which we've talked about in the past. It's just that GASB requires you to recognize a portion of the total state retirement system liability. And then 10.9 million is your share of OPEB, which is basically the same thing, but it's your post-employment benefits, which is what you pay for retirees. So you're looking there at 27 million of that 35 million. So the debt, if you pull that out, your debt in bonds and leases was a little over 8 million. Now, when you net these together, your assets minus your debt, you have a net position of 14.7 million negative, or a deficit, because of those liabilities, that OPEB and that pension liability, which is something that we're seeing most entities in our rural area are showing negatives. We see very few that are show positive anymore. If you didn't have those OPEB and pension liabilities, you'd be showing a positive of 13.6 million. So just to give you a feel of how much those two liabilities affect your statements. Any questions on anything on there? If not, let's flip to page 15. This is a lot of the same information. This is your balance sheet, but it's more of your short-term view. And it doesn't have those fixed assets, and it doesn't have that long-term debt in there. So this is more of your statement that you're gonna look at with what's more readily gonna be used to pay your bills. You know, your cash numbers, you'll see there, they're exactly the same we saw on the other page. The only difference is it's broken down by funds. So you still see the 809,000 and the 1.2 million there. So the only thing I wanna really point out on here is your fund balance. This is basically the same thing, assets minus liabilities, but this is more what when you wanna think of how healthy is my general fund, how healthy is my food service and so forth. These are the numbers you generally think of. Your first column there is your general fund. And you'll see there about the third number or the second number up from the bottom. Your general fund balance at June 30th, 2024 was $3,250,000. So a very good fund balance. We usually talk about how many days of working capital do you have in that fund balance? In other words, or kind of roughly, if you didn't bring in any money, how long could you operate if you kind of had to liquidate? And we've talked about it in 22, we said you were 104 days, 23, you were 108, 24, 2024, you were 90 days. So it's down, but you're still in good shape, because we usually say anywhere from a month and a half to 3 months. So you're still very healthy. And I think that number's down because of the transfers. The board made the decision to move some money to set aside for debt payments and for future transactions, which we'll talk about in just a minute, but that caused your expenditures to be up some, which is gonna make your average expenditures be up. So that's gonna bump that number, your average expenditures up some, and bring that days in working capital down. So I still think your fund balance is in very good position. Your second column there is your special revenue funds. This includes your food service, and basically all your grants that you have. You'll see there the food service had a fund balance of $260,931. The third up from the bottom, the fourth number, and one of the set-asides that we just talked about, you had set aside some money for the match on the COPS grant and for transportation for our bus. Those two combined is a fund balance of $232,576. Right above that is for the ECD projects. You have fund balance that carried over, and you also put some money back into that to replace what you had spent. So that's at $539,000. And then the third column there is your capital projects or your building fund, and you're at 6.1 million. Those are your bond proceeds that were left at June 30th, 24. And the fourth column is your debt service funds. And you'll see there, you've got two line items there for your debt service fund balance. You've got 385,632, which is the funds that have been collected so far, held by the county treasurer, that have to be used and set aside to pay for future debt. And then the 463 are the funds that you as a board set aside to pay for those concert funds debt, for which the payments start back this year. So you've made the decision to go ahead and set that money aside so you don't have to worry about having that coming out of your budget for the future. So overall, all the fund balances of your funds total $11,614,000. Any questions on that page? If not, we'll take a look at page 17. This is the statement of revenues and expenditures and changes in fund balance. Kind of your income statement that goes along with the balance sheet we just talked about. Same thing on the short-term basis. Does it include the debt service, or includes the debt service? Does it include depreciation? So that's why we say it's the short-term view. You see there your first column, your general fund. You had a little bit over $12 million in revenues, which was up from $11.2 million in the prior year. You had total expenditures of $12,582,000, which is up from just over $12 million in the prior year. Next page. You have your other financing sources and uses. These are basically anything that's not an expenditure. These are transfers between funds, and then your bond proceeds and things of that nature. You had the lease proceeds, which was the purchase of 2 tractors, lawnmowers, excuse me. And then your transfers, you'll see the 476,206, which included that 463,643, which was for the concert funds. The 1,353,000 was money that came in from the EIA funds, which is a standard transfer. And then the 607,353 was the 107,353 for the COPS match, $350,000 that you put back in the ECD funds, and the $150,000 for the activity bus. When you net all this together, you operated the year at an excess of $56,132, which, you know, on your size budget is basically break even. When the prior year you had an excess of $396,000. So when you add this to your prior fund balance, this brings you to the fund balance of $3,250,000. Any questions on the general fund? If not, I'll just hit the food service fund on page 118. Your revenues and for the year were basically in line with the prior year at 1.1 million. You're 125. As I put it on page. I'm sorry, 125. I had the wrong page on the note. I'm sorry. So your revenues were at $1,150,000, right in line with the prior year. Your expenditures were $1,259,000. Those were up from $928,000 the prior year, but those are basically planned increases because of your capital outlay. You did a lot of planned expenditures, purchasing equipment such as ovens, refrigerators, coolers, tables, and that sort of thing. Because the State Department, I think, had told you that you need to bring your fund balance down. So you brought that's why your expenditures were about $122,000 over your revenues. So, but that was planned. So for the year, you had a fund balance of $18,432 starting the year. You ended the year at $296,297. Any questions on the food service? I'll just point out, we won't necessarily flip to it because we've talked about this every year. You do have 2 letters in here on compliance and internal control. You only got 1 finding. It's a significant deficiency for segregation of duty. We have that finding in every audit that's in our building. It's something that most entities who are smaller and in a rural area have to deal with. And it's just because most places, it's not cost efficient to have enough staff so that one person doesn't handle a transaction from beginning to end or handle more than one aspect of a transaction. Okay. I don't think of all the audits, and we probably have about 13 audits in our building, and I think every one of ours has that in it. So it's just a fact of life pretty much for our rural area. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Brenda, very much. Ms. Willis, do you have anything else? Awesome job. And Mr. Goins.
Good evening, everyone. Just a few updates from academics. We do want to highlight and celebrate 2 of our teachers that received the Bright Ideas grants that will be able to allow them to fund some different things in their classroom. Ms. Angie McClellan from Johnsonville Middle School and Ms. Vicki Hood from Johnsonville High School. They both won those grants. It was a surprise. They were surprised, and they came and got those last week, so we're proud of them. We're proud of them for taking that time to write those grants and looking forward to the great things that they're going to be using in their classroom through the Bright Ideas grants. We'll be starting the Habitudes in January at Johnsonville High Schools. The Habitudes is a image-based leadership development curriculum that's being provided by the State Department of Education and the John Maxwell Foundation. This curriculum empowers our students, our teachers, to become a leader. And they're going to use different things in the curriculum in the government class at Johnsonville High School. This curriculum lines up perfectly with the profile of the South Carolina graduate, as it is teaching them those different soft skills and those different leadership skills that as they graduate Johnsonville High School, that they will be able to take into the community as a productive citizen. And so we're doing it in our government classes so that we can make sure that every student will have that, because of course every student has to have that for graduation. So looking forward to the critical thinking skills that they're going to be looking forward to the different personal skills and soft skills that they'll take into the community as they grow. Just a few updates for testing this semester. These were the tests that are required by the state. Of course, we've already done our fall formative assessments. We've completed our KRA and MyEGDs for 4K and 5K. COGAT in Iowa, that is our GT test. Those have been completed. We have not got back to scores yet for those, but we look forward to seeing which of our students will be a state identified as gifted and talented. The PSAT was completed at the end of October, so we're looking forward to see what junior scholars we'll have this year in 8th grade. And just last week, the high school, some juniors and seniors, they completed ASVAB and WIN. These are tests that count for career ready. So we're looking forward to see how many of our juniors and seniors will be met for career ready. Of course, that's a part on our report card. Coming up in December, in just a few weeks, it's hard to believe, in just a few weeks, we'll be beginning our formative assessments for iReady. We're looking forward to see that. Of course, those iReady tests will tell us how much we've grown since the beginning of the year and what our growths are and what our areas that we need to continue to work on are before our SC Ready test in the spring. So that'll go ahead and give us some data that we'll begin to look at to see what areas and adjustments we may need to make. And then for Johnsonville High School, we have 2 EOCs this semester in English 2 and Biology. We currently don't have any students enrolled in U.S. History this semester or in Algebra 1. We do have some in the spring, so we'll pick those back up in the spring. But for this December, English 2 and Biology on the dates listed there, and then just general exams for Johnsonville High School will be on December 19th and 20th. So getting to that point in the second semester is winding down. Interim reports went out last week, and so we only have half of this semester left. It is going quick, but we have those things coming up. Any questions for academics this evening?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Students that take classes at the Continuum,
Yes, sir.
how can parents see their grades?
Unfortunately, because it is a college level class, and those good laws of HIPAA and FERPA and all that, they have to show them to you. That we don't have that access to allow it.
Okay.
That's the downfall of college classes in high school, so to speak. But you know, just like if they were in Francis Marion their freshman year, it's the same thing. You have to rely on them for that. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. Mr. Kennedy?
All right, I'm gonna be kind of brief tonight. Facilities update. The new athletic lights are installed at the softball field. The lighting project will continue this week at the baseball field. They got slowed down because of the rain. It was too wet for them to do a whole lot at the baseball field, but they are picking that back up today. Our next facilities planning meeting is 17 December at 9 o'clock right here in the conference center. Security update. Tentative award of approximately $22,400 from this year's Safe Schools grant. That is down by about $820,000 of what I requested. But they did give us the money for the cell phone storage for the high school and middle school there. That follows along with the requirements of Proviso 1.103, which deals with cell phones in schools. Our COMPS grant and 23-24 Safe Schools grant projects are nearing completion. A3 is basically here now, doing little break fix things. Everything is, for the most part, finished with that. So I know Wanda and Lauren are glad to see those grants come to a close so that they can stop that reporting all the time. And we love getting the grant money, of course, but it's a lot to keep up with from the finance and the reporting side. We did participate in a school safety panel last Thursday at the Skies of the Joint Roundtable. Panel consisted of one small district, one medium district, and one large district. So that was us as the small district. Orangeburg is the medium, and Charleston is the large. Skies gave really good feedback to us from that. It was really interesting to hear. You know, I was the panel member from the represent the small districts, but it was cool to hear that a lot of things that we're doing are pretty big deals that some of the bigger districts aren't doing. It sparked a lot of good conversation there, and I was impressed with what we're doing. I did pick up some ideas of other districts that they're doing, the things I hadn't thought about, so it was really good. I was really pleased to be invited to that panel. That was a pretty big deal for little old Johnsonville, so. Any questions on anything that I've presented? I know it's kind of brief tonight.
What's the latest on the track field?
All right, we are waiting on an update from Terracon. Terracon came through and redid the soil samples over here. The water table had dropped significantly. Right now, the tentative plan is, of course, to move on with the track going back here. We had looked at some other options, but going back in the same location is the plan moving forward. We're waiting on finalized numbers on that. There will be a small additional increase in what we had originally anticipated due to the subsurface issues. But I didn't include a slide with that because I didn't have any exact information. But you will have an update next board meeting with firm numbers and a path forward on it. We'll probably be well into that, hopefully by the next actual board meeting, to give you a good update on that. Any other questions?
Are they gonna fix the flashing lights at the track field?
Yes.
They already did.
Okay, I went by there like a week ago, it was still flashing.
Yeah, they fixed them.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, in our athletics, today, Miss Lily Margaret Jiggers played in the state competition. She made it through that first round. She hit the second round, hit the 2A schools, and so she's out now, but the fact that she was playing in the state tournament is a big deal. The cross-country boys and girls will compete at the state competition on Friday in Newberry. This will be the first year the boys made it. The girls did it last year. So I'm excited to see what they do this year at Newberry. And varsity football made it to the second round of playoffs, and that'll happen this Friday at Lakeview. Upcoming events, we've got the JHS Miss Golden Black pageant. This year it is going to be in the JES gymnasium with the new furniture we have in the JHS cafeteria. It's not as simple to break it down and move it. And we have the HVAC stuff going on at the high school as well. So we'll be doing it in the JES gym this year. As I stated before, the playoffs and the state cross-country meet will be this Friday, as well as our Fall Fun Fest. Then we have Thanksgiving break. Right after Thanksgiving break, we jump right back in with JES Literacy Night on December 3rd. It's already time for that class ring ceremony and a Christmas concert, and the fall athletic banquet. Is just amazing to me that we're already there. We will have a food truck at JMS on December the 19th to celebrate them scoring excellent on the school report card. All the teachers will go pick their lunch, and we're going to pay for that for them. We have a half day for students on the 20th, and then Christmas break. When we come back in January, we'll come back to the JMS Junior Beta Club Convention, and then our next board meeting. And that sums it up for the superintendent's report.
We shall move right along to our 4 action agenda. First thing on there is the second reading of revision of policy JICJ, which is the cell phone policy that we talked about last month.
I make a motion that we approve the second reading of the policy JICJ.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye. Opposers have the same right. Seeing none, we'll move on to the acceptance of the 23-24 fiscal audit.
I make a motion, we accept the 23-24 fiscal audit.
A second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposers have the same right. Hearing none. The acceptance of the application for the Booster Club.
If y'all remember in September, we modified our policy for parent organizations based on the new law that says you have to approve any organization that's collecting money on behalf of the school. So now that policy's passed, we have 2 organizations that are operating and collecting money. We have done the background checks for everybody listed. Everything's clear, but we're bringing to you the acceptance of a booster club and a PTO.
A question.
Yes.
Both of these applicants did not fill out anything for section D, procedures for organization decision making? Is that an
Wonder-
issue?
When they turned it in, did they have any attachments?
We met with each organization and we discussed their procedures. They did not give them to us in writing. And we made very clear, they have to turn in monthly financial statements. Actually, they have to turn in their bank statement from the bank, to the principals at each school for us to monitor. I can get that information to you. I can have them give it to us in writing if you would like.
Well, we've got ours listed below. I think they were pretty much the same.
Right, it's just that, they agreed to everything about the two signatures, what could and could not be done financially. We didn't have any, dissent on any of that we covered in the meeting.
Yeah, I guess my question was more towards the form work not being completely
Right,
filled out. Is that a problem?
Gotcha. I think when we did it before and we talked about, you see in E, they're gonna follow those procedures that we suggested. But we probably should have made the note of that under D.
Can we do these together or separately?
I think we need to probably do them separately.
Yeah, they're listed separately, so I think.
I'll make a motion, we accept the application for the Booster Club.
I'll second.
We have a motion second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposes? Move right along to D, accepting the application for JES PTO. I think it's basically the same layout, right?
I'll make a motion that we accept the application for the JES PTO.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor, aye? Opposers have the same right. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to enter into executive session.
I'll make a motion we enter executive session.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
I'll make a motion, we exit executive session.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Coming out of executive session, we have no, action against the contractual matter, so we will, move to the election of officers.
At
First you
this
got to
point,
vacate, recorder.
at this point, all positions are vacant. I open the floor for nominations for board chair.
I make a motion to nominate Irvin.
And I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
I make a motion that we, nominate Ms. Deanna Green for vice chair.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
And now I open the floor for nominations for secretary.
I make a motion that we nominate Frank Travaglio for secretary.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
With no further business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Aye.